seems like it comes from the building. It's supposed to be a storm drain. It comes from the building somehow, goes out somewhere where I couldn't determine where it exited the slab. And it had a floor drain inside of the wall that had some type of a bowl type drain. Looks like they were using it to wash things at some point, with a little shower or something. None of it really makes much sense to me, but I wasn't there to really make sense of it, but just to look at it from the prospect of them putting children in there, and I don't think it's an appropriate location to put children.
Thank you so much, Dave. Diane, you had anything on this?
If we were to use this area, then what does that do with our need for an industrial, some industrial area in the city?
Like Adam said, so it's right down in it, right down in the middle of it.
Right.
And it alleviates what a potential person coming in.
But I mean, was it explain to me again, was it a law that we have to have a certain percentage of land or property that would be potentially industrial within the city?
Well, we have to have some way, yeah, when we were doing the rezoning, our advisors advised us that, yeah, we have to have an area for a potential industrial place to go.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if we rezone using this model, then we are without that area?
We're going back to where we used to be. We spacing set our zoning in where we wouldn't spot zone. That's what we basically were after. Right. We don't want to do no spot zone. Right. And here we are, we're right back to the same situation now.
Exactly.
So,
all right. This, to kind of continue this discussion, looking at the future development map that was created contemporary with the LCI plan, I don't specifically, and I don't have the descriptions of the different zoning types, but I don't see anything specifically cited as industrial per se. I mean, maybe some kind of a mixed use. I don't know where it would fall in. Perhaps commercial. That's only one small parcel within the whole city limits. In my reading of the review by staff, I understand to some degree in reliance on the LCI plan as at the time was that this area was intended for is it multi-family dwellings? I believe in the conversation we cited that. But and as such, I think that staff in reliance on that perhaps imagine that this would be consistent with that proposed use, and that it is likely that the city will trend in that direction based on the vision that we had at the time. I think we've got a number of variances on which this proposal will rely in the future, and the question is there are a number of things, number of assumptions like required parking and everything. So from the perspective of rezoning, it's probably not pertinent, but I'm concerned that we're kind of setting in motion by this decision a fairly significant precedent, particularly in an area that we have very limited in terms of this type of center.
Any other comments from the council? Seeing none, anybody wants to comment on this subject?
City Council, in its inimitable way, decides to make a change in the schedule. The person who's interested in this piece of property is intent to be here to hear the hearing. She has a copy of this, and it shows that you were to have your special call meeting first, which went unpublicized as a special call meeting. Her intent was to be here and hear what you had to say. So in all fairness to her, you've decided to make a change in the way you do your procedures. She did not need to be here for the special call meeting, only for her issue.
The special plan? No, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is a special call meeting is specifically for a public hearing on another subject.
That's right, and it's printed first on here, the order of business.
Well, it's up to the council can change the
And you evidently have decided to do this. But when you publish it this way, this is the way it should be held.
I wouldn't want to continue. I'll stop. Go ahead, Lena.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, and the Councilor. I'm complaining about this lady. She went and talked about me. I bring some information to City Council and the police to stop business meeting, which I have never done that one. And she just wants to bring problem. Yes.
Lena, hold it.
Yes, sir.
We're discussing some property up on Clarkston Industrial Boulevard for rezoning. That's the only subject on the floor right now. Any personal things we can't discuss right now,
Oh,
okay?
thank you.
All right,
I don't know how, I don't know about cell towers and the EMFs that they emit and how dangerous they are for people. I'm more concerned about cell phones to your ear than cell towers. But my concern is that the city is desperate for money. And that this is the real issue here, to put up something that's obviously going to be ugly and may be harmful. I'm not committed to that. Out of a desperation for money. We're all broke, okay? Figure out new ways to generate.
Excuse me, Chris, we're discussing a different subject now.
No, the cell phone tower up. Out
We're
of
not discussing the
desperation
cell
for
phone
money.
tower, we're discussing the location for rezoning of a daycare center. That's what we're discussing. We're not discussing the cell tower.
You started out with this mention of the cell phone tower.
That's right, you did. You start out with the mention of
He
cell phone.
just mentioned, Mr. Hadlock just mentioned that the location of the daycare center would be right adjacent to a
This
cell
is
tower.
meeting somewhat confusing.
Yes.
It's set up.
Any more comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with the current agenda, okay? First of all, I got a little statement here I just want to read. I'd like to welcome everyone here that came tonight for a public hearing. For the purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment regarding the placement of a communication tower at the parking lot near Armstead Field portion of Milan Park. Let me remind everyone that this is a public hearing only. This is not an item that is on the agenda for any actions. I would also like to recognize our guests from Municipal Communications that are here to make a presentation tonight, and that is Mr. Peter Corey, Executive Officer of Municipal Communications, along with Mr. Tom Holland and Mr. Stan Cash. Where are you? Oh, right here, okay. And I would also like to recognize the representative from Representative College Renner's office is here. Oh, there you are. Okay, Candace, thank you. In respect to this hearing, the city has requested Municipal Communications to present their plans for the placement of a communications tower at the entrance of Milan Park and to discuss the construction and design of the tower and the proposed improvements to the park. The hearing will begin with a short presentation from Mr. Corey from Municipal Communications. After Mr. Corey's presentation, I will give the City Council members the opportunity to ask questions first. After the City Council members have asked their questions, I will open the floor for citizens' comments. Each person wishing to address this issue will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. We have set the time limit of 30 minutes for this hearing. However, I will use my discretion to allow any additional time if needed. Unless there are remarks from the council members, I would like to ask Mr. Corey from Municipal Communications to make his presentation regarding this proposed tower.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, I'm Peter Corey. I'm CEO of Municipal Communications. We are a local firm. We develop towers, communications facilities, really throughout the country. Our specialty is working with municipalities, counties, public works departments to utilize their property for the purposes of placing communications facilities. What you basically got here is a location after some search of the area on behalf of Metro PCS. We identified the Milam Park location as one where, as you can see, there is no coverage. You know, typically in Metro Atlanta, you find areas where there's spare coverage, weak coverage. In this day and age, it's pretty rare to find an area that has zero coverage. I want you to go to the next slide. This is what the coverage map will look like once the tower is erected and is operational. You go from no coverage to very good coverage. There are lots of benefits to that, and we'll get into that here in a second. Basically, what we're proposing is a 195-foot tower that is called a stealth monopole. Now, stealth monopole is a tower that has the antenna equipment inside the tower. So you will never see the antennas. They're all encapsulated in the tower. You see no lines of fiber or coax cable. It's just a cylindrical shaped tower. Does not rust. You know, it's virtually maintenance free and has an indefinite service lifespan.
Sir, can you read that line? Because for some of us that are old, we can't read that small print up there on the top.
Okay, it says that we plan to build a 195-foot stealth monopole tower with interior antennas.
Okay.
The carriers that we're talking to right now, we have Metro PCS that is our anchor tenant. T-Mobile, as you may know, has been trying to serve this area desperately for quite some time, as has AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon.
Okay, thank you.
So we think there's a good chance that over a period of a few years, most of the significant carriers will install their equipment inside the tower. And that is the
So
key.
each carrier nowadays, so the technology's advanced where the tower goes up.
We don't want to question the answer.
Well, no, he just started and he opened it. He was explaining how the
I'm
towers
starting
work.
it. I just want them to give their presentation, then we'll
That's
do
fine. I
dialogue.
just can't read back here, so if you can't,
Okay,
if
well,
you can't make
we'll
the
just
percentages
remind,
higher.
Mr. Ware, if
There-
you could read some of the writing up there.
I'll be happy to. I'll be
Because
happy.
I know I'm younger than some of them.
Okay, this is an aerial view of the site. As you can see, the proposed tower is going to be in an area that is kind of at an end of a road. It's not near the ball fields. It's kind of tucked back into the parking area, and it will be it'll clean up the area as it stands right now. You know, in some situations, this is a mock-up of what a photo simulation of what the tower will look like from the parking lot. And so what we'll do is we'll put up a screen, we'll plant, in this case, Leland cypress, which of course grow very quickly. And what's there now will be cleaned up and we'll end up with a nice landscape area. Coming down the street, this is what the tower will look like once it's constructed. This is a tower we did in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is the exact tower. That's what it looks like. There's never any exterior appendages to the tower. It's a very slick, kind of 21st century looking structure that blends in with the scenery. From a revenue standpoint, the city would get initially $1,300 a month, and that is just with the one carrier. As the tower leases up, that would increase by $300 per carrier for carriers 3 through 8. That over a period of time, that means that the average rent that the city will receive will be $3,375 to $8,000 a month. Over the term of the lease, it would be a minimum of $2.024 million, up to a maximum of $4.8 million. Obviously, everybody's concerned with the health effects of radiation and whatever, and I know that in DeKalb County, when they were looking at putting towers on school property, parents were up in arms. It's, you know, our response to that is basically to review the American Cancer Society studies. There is no correlation between cell phone towers and cancer. It's the equivalent of standing outside of a house that has a color TV set on inside. There is no radiation, and it is intermittent. What little radiation there is intermittent. It's just when the tower's in use. It's well above ground level. If you could be at 195 feet, it would be dangerous, but certainly at ground level, it's not dangerous. We're happy to answer any questions, you know, tonight, or if you have questions, you can contact